Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for the Study STEM programs at the University of Guelph webinar. We'll just give everybody a few seconds to trickle in before we officially start, but it's nice to see so many of you joining us. Hello again to everybody still trickling in. Welcome to everybody who's here with us so far. While we wait for just a minute before we get started, I invite all of you that are here already to just open up the Q&A button and type in the name of the city or the country that you happen to be watching this webinar from. And I'm happy to read off a few responses so everybody can hear where you're from, because you never know who's interested in studying at Guelph and is from the same area as you. So please let us know, where are you watching this webinar from? And feel free to add in what program you've applied to, which major you've applied to. And I can certainly start us off. Although I work at the University of Guelph, I'm coming to you from the city of Kitchener today, doing this webinar from just outside of Guelph. So Kitchener is located in Ontario. I do have a real University of Guelph campus location up as my background, though. But I'm curious to know where all of you are joining us from. Okay, I'm seeing a few people from the GTA. So we've got Toronto, we have Vaughan, also Kitchener, Guelph. Um, looks like a few people from the US as well. Houston, Texas. Welcome. That's amazing. Ottawa, Caledon, Hamilton. Interested in computer engineering, someone wrote. Perfect. Animal biology, Bachelor of Science, environmental engineering. Peterborough, a few more from Guelph. Windsor, Argentina. Welcome. That's fantastic. That's incredible to see the range of places. So thank you to all of you who've shared that with us so far. I hope that gives you all some an understanding of just the breadth of how many people are in this room and from how many regions. So that's wonderful. Thank you. I think we can officially begin now. So hello again, and welcome to everybody to the University of Guelph's presentation today on STEM programs. So we'll be covering the degree programs in science, technology and computing, engineering, and mathematics. My name is Purvi, and I'm a recruitment officer here at the university, and I'm the main host of this webinar today. I am joined by another staff member, Hillary, and a whole team of current students that are pursuing their degrees here in the STEM areas, so you'll get to meet them very soon too. We're so excited to have you join us and learn more about these incredible program areas at the University of Guelph. And as we've just seen, so many of you are joining us from different regions and time zones around the world. So we really appreciate you taking the time to visit with us today and learn how Guelph can play a significant role in your future, as it has for so many other students. I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge that the University of Guelph resides on the land of the Between the Lakes Treaty Number 3, the territory of the Mississaugas of the Credit. We say this as a reminder of our responsibility we have to the land where we live, learn, and work. So today's presentation will be about an hour, maybe just over a couple of minutes, including some time for question and answers, based on what we're seeing you put into the Q&A and what we know incoming first-year students usually want to hear about. So we'll talk about the 4 different academic degrees today, plus you'll hear from our Guelph students and what opportunities they've experienced so far. And then you, as the attendee, will learn about your next steps as a future student. Please feel free to use the Q&A function throughout the presentation. My wonderful colleagues from the admission team are with us today, and they will be monitoring and answering your questions behind the scenes for us. So thanks in advance to those of you working away on the chat today. A little bit about me, and then I'll pass it over to the others to hop on camera shortly after. I'm a staff member now at the university, but I'm also a University of Guelph alumni. So I came to Guelph years ago when I turned 18, and I moved here from a really small country in Southeast Africa called Malawi. I earned a Bachelor of Science degree. I worked in the veterinary industry for years before doing a career change and then coming to work at the university in the marketing and recruitment sector. And I never thought I'd work on campus again once I'd graduated, but even well over a decade later, you never know where your journey takes you, and it is certainly great to be back on my old stomping grounds. My G reason why, or the reason that I said yes to accepting my offer to the University of Guelph, was because I knew that the vet school at Guelph is a top ranked school in the world. It's #1 in Canada. So it was a very obvious choice for me. But also when I lined up all the brochures of all the schools I was considering, because remember, I lived overseas, so I couldn't pop over for a quick campus tour, or I didn't have a rep come to my school and do a presentation. So I did have to literally choose, judge a book by its cover. And I was most attractive to the University of Guelph View Book, and it was just an intuitive feeling that served me well, and I couldn't have been happier with my choice. I wholeheartedly recommend this institution as a place to live and learn, and I'm sure a lot of you will get something just as positive out of it too. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Hillary to introduce herself.
Thanks, Purvi. So I am Hillary Royackers. I'm the Engineering Recruitment Officer at the University of Guelph. So a little bit about myself. I have a bit of a mixed background. I did not go to the University of Guelph as a student. I was one of those students that it took a while for me to figure out where my interests laid and what to do that, how to make money, sort of tying my interest into a career. And that's what I encourage students to do here today. Consider what are your interests and how can you pursue that into a career going forward. I am from a small town of Bellwood, Ontario, that is just about 40 minutes north of where Guelph is. And my G reason why, from a staff perspective, I guess, is our green campus. It's very beautiful. Staff like taking walks during their breaks, going down to the Arboretum and things like that. So definitely our green campus is what I love about Guelph so much.
Awesome. Thanks, Hillary. And then these are our amazing student panelists who can speak to each of the STEM areas that we cover today from the student perspective. So I'll invite everybody on screen now. Just take a few moments to turn your camera and mic on and introduce yourself. Where are you all from and what are you studying? In order of the photos, we'll start with Anna and we'll end with Peter. So go ahead, Anna.
Hi, everyone. My name is Anna, and sorry if you can hear noise. There's a garage door being opened in my house. But I'm in biological engineering. I'm in my second year right now. My hometown is Kingston, and I was actually originally born in Ukraine, but now I'm studying here. Thank you.
Oh, I think it's me. Hi, everyone. My name is Vinay Joshi. I'm a fourth year undergraduate in BMath program. I'm originally from India, from the southern part of India, but I moved here less than a decade ago. So yeah.
Hi everyone, my name is Sarah. I'm in my fifth year on the software engineering program with Co-op. I originally am from Jordan, but I'm currently living in Mississauga. So it's just a city a little bit outside of Guelph.
Hi everyone, my name is Karen and I'm in my third year of biological and medical physics with a minor in computer science, and I'm from Sterling, Ontario, which is kind of near Belleville.
Hey everyone, my name is Peter. I'm an alumni. I was in the biomedical toxicology program with Co-op, and now I'm pursuing my master's in chemistry with a specialization in toxicology. And I'm actually from Guelph, so I decided to stay in my hometown.
That's great. Thank you so much to all the students joining us, even in in the middle of your very busy midterm season. So they all volunteered to be here and share their stories with you because they were just in your shoes just a few years ago. So I really hope that our audience members will learn some new things from you all today. A few interesting facts about Guelph, just because this may be your new home away from home for the next 4 to 5 years. So a couple things you can look forward to. If you look at the map on screen, Guelph is the big red dot. So we're very close. We're about an hour away from Toronto and 45 minutes from Pearson International Airport. The other two red dots are our smaller sister campuses located in Ontario as well, but all the programs we review today are delivered at our main Guelph campus. Guelph is a great mid-sized city, rated as one of the top places to live across the whole country, and it's also known as one of the safest. As someone who has lived in Guelph for nearly 20 years, I can vouch for what a beautiful atmosphere there is. We have a river and a lake here in the city for a beach day. We have sports arenas and stadiums, lots of small and large events, artsy and musical festivals happening year round. It just makes it a really vibrant place to be. And our university is considered mid-sized too. So there are those that are much bigger than us and those that are much smaller. And I always think when you're living alone for the first time at 18, it's really helpful to have a place that's a very comfortable size, easy to navigate, not overwhelming, and ideally with lots of nice outdoor spaces to study or hang out with your friends. And our campus is known for being one of the most attractive in Canada. We do enjoy having a well-known reputation for a number of things, particularly research, where we are the #1 school to receive the highest amount of funding from research dollars for discovery. Guelph is also very famous for its agricultural programs, along with being Canada's food university. And of course, our veterinary medical school, as I mentioned earlier, which is ranked #1 in the country and 6th in the world. We are also proudly among the top 10% of the most sustainable universities globally. Before we dive into the programs, here's some terms that you'll probably hear today from our students that you may not yet be familiar with, so I'll quickly explain with an example. So what is a degree, what is a major, and what is a minor? So we'll use the Bachelor of Science for an example. And so a BSc is the name and the level of the degree that you graduate with, and it's a defined academic area of study. And then within that, you can select an area to specialize in, and that's called your major. So for example, you could select chemistry. So you would take about 75% of your courses in the subject area of chemistry, and then the other 25% are usually there's room for electives. So you could use that space. This next part is optional, but if you have or you develop a secondary area of interest to you and you formally want to pursue 10 courses in that specific subject area, then we call it a minor and it will show up on your transcript. So business is a popular example of what STEM students often take, and it just adds to your portfolio when you graduate. I didn't take a minor, so it's important to know that that part is completely optional. What is co-op? Co-op might also be a term some of you hadn't heard of. I know I didn't know what that was living overseas until I got here, but co-op is an option, and you can see if your program is available in it. We'll review the ones that are. And if you qualify for it at the time of application, it's just based on your academic marks, then you can spend some terms at a full-time paid job and then other terms back in class studying. This way, you get about 4 to 5 work terms in, and you can earn while you learn, and you get industry experience, references, and a professional network before you even graduate. If your program is not available in co-op, there's still plenty of experiential learning opportunities for all students to get involved to still give you those hands-on skills. And I'll show you what a sample co-op schedule might look like. So in this schedule, anything in gold means you are in class, on campus, studying in your courses. And in the red blocks, you're expected to secure your own job and be working full-time with no academic classes. You'll see your first 2 years in this schedule, you're fully in class and you've already done half your degree before you even start your first work term. Each block here represents 4 months. So when there's 2 back-to-back red co-op blocks, like in year 3, at that point, you could line up 2 different jobs for 4 months each or spend 1 8-month term somewhere. Remember, you are responsible for securing your own co-op job, but we do provide you with lots of resources and assistance to help our co-op students make that possible. And with that, let's dive into talking about our academic STEM programs, and we'll start with science. So our Bachelor of Science program is our largest degree with 22 majors or areas that you can specialize in. We normally divide them into the biological science majors and physical science majors. Physical sciences are more related to chemistry and physics, and the biological sciences focus more on human and animal health, nutrition, and molecular biology. Anything with the red square next to it means it is offered in co-op and regular. There is a difference in the math courses you need for admission when you're comparing biological science majors and physical science majors. So just make sure you look carefully at what your high school requirements are, whether you're applying to a major in the top half or the bottom half of the slide. Those of you interested in healthcare have several options from either section to choose from, including physics, neuroscience, biomedical toxicology, to name a few. Biological and pharmaceutical chemistry students actually do have the option to do a local exchange with nearby Seneca College and take courses in your 3rd year in applied areas like pharmaceutical formulations, manufacturing, and advanced drug analysis. It's a very popular major for those interested in going into pharmacy or the pharmaceutical sector. For our animal-related majors, there's a few here you can choose from, such as animal biology, marine and freshwater biology, wildlife biology and conservation, and zoology. Your courses can include subjects focusing on animal genetics, nutrition, physiology, and even ecology, which is the study of how animals and plants interact with their environment. These majors are often the most popular and certainly the most linear path for future veterinarians, but you don't have to limit yourself to an animal-based undergraduate specialty. You can pursue science however it interests you by even taking something like chemical physics or microbiology. They can still lead you into the veterinary field. One of our physics graduates complemented their degree with a minor in computer science and ended up working on the movie Shrek, where they were able to add in the shadows to make the animations look more realistic. In biomedical science and human kinetics, our students are among the only undergraduates able to participate in a human anatomy dissection lab. So those future doctors and healthcare practitioners really have a major advantage to studying at Guelph. This is the perfect place for me to introduce our first science student, Karen. So Karen, would you like to come on screen and just chat a bit about each of the points here, and then I'll ask you some questions, but mainly take some time to share with our audience today what drew you to Guelph and to your physics program.
Absolutely. So, hi everyone. My name is Karen, and I'm in my third year of biological and medical physics. Coming out of high school, I was very interested in biology, especially medicine related to human biology, but I was really good at physics and math, and I would get pretty good grades. So, I figured I would do a combination of the two, something that I'm really interested in, combined with something that I'm good at, and biological and medical physics was kind of the perfect thing for me. I also have a minor in computer science, and that actually started near the end of my first year. In the physics degree at Guelph, there is a mandatory first year computer science, just introductory to computer science course that you need to take. And I took it and I absolutely loved it. I really loved the logic and kind of solving little puzzles with little coding pieces. And being able to learn and develop in that kind of environment, absolutely loved it. And so, towards the end of my first year, I chatted with one of my program advisors and we kind of scheduled out how I would be able to take that minor. Biological and medical physics doesn't leave a lot of room for electives, so it is a little difficult to put in a minor, but with help from the advisors who are really quite helpful and nice, we were able to figure it out and kind of plan that all out. I'm from Stirling, which is a really tiny town near Belleville, Ontario. And so, coming from a little tiny town and wanting to pursue a science degree at a university, I was a little nervous about getting into a big city. So, I came to Guelph, I came for a tour before I had accepted my offer, and I found the tour kind of the perfect experience to realize that Guelph was the right place for me. It's a really nice campus, first of all. And although it's a pretty reasonably large university, it gives off some small town vibes, and I definitely felt at home here. And then we went for lunch on campus, and the food was incredible. And that was the kind of final piece that made me know that this was the right place for me.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. And so a couple questions for you, Karen. Can you think of a really interesting course you've taken in your program so far that you enjoyed, and can you tell us a bit about it?
Yeah, yeah. So in second year of the biological medical physics degree, you take a course called Biophysics of Excitable Cells in your second year. And coming out of first year, where first year you kind of take a lot of different fundamental courses, biology, physics, chemistry, math, that are all very separate, and you may not be interested in all of them. I know I'm not the biggest fan of chemistry, but I do love biology and physics. And so, coming out of that fundamental first year and getting into biophysics of excitable cells, which for me is one of the most interesting courses I've taken, it really combines physics and biology into one. You take all the things you hear about in biology, like neurons and action potentials, and you really place it into a physics state of mind, and you understand what those action potentials are on a fundamental level. And that stuff is very fascinating to me.
That sounds really fun. And another question for you would be that a lot of students are torn between whether they take co-op or the non-co-op version of their program. And you've actually done both. So can you tell us a bit about that journey and your ultimate career goals?
Yeah, absolutely. So coming into my first year, I was in the co-op program, and initially I would joined this major, biological and medical physics, because it interested me, but I had no idea what kind of career path that would lead me to, no idea what kind of jobs were even an option. And so I initially joined co-op to figure out what I wanted to do different co-op jobs with different options, whether it's industry, research, or clinical based, and be able to do that discovery. On my first co-op term, I worked at a optometry clinic and absolutely loved it. I really fell in love with it, and now I'm going to pursue optometry as a professional degree after my finish my undergrad. But optometry school is another 4 years after undergrad, and I realized that since I found what I want to do, I no longer really need co-op. Co-op had kind of served its purpose for me, and so I did end up leaving the co-op program simply just to shorten the amount of time. So my undergrad would be 4 years instead of five. But co-op, without co-op, I probably wouldn't have been able to have that experience. So I definitely appreciate joining it in the first place.
Great. Yes, thank you for sharing that. So if anyone has any further questions for Karen, please pop them in the Q&A, and then at the end of the session, I'll come back and see what we can answer together. So there are several reasons why one should study science here, and one includes our facilities. We have the largest DNA bank in North America. So every living animal and plant is assigned a barcode. So we can identify all the different species, and that information is stored in a library, if you will, and cataloged. So that attracts a lot of world-renowned scientists, geneticists, and researchers to come to our school and access the barcodes we have. We also have the Hagen Aqualab on site, which can simulate any aquatic environment in the world. This is a center for studying things like behavior, disease, genetics on aquatic animals that live in a variety of water habitats. And I love that our physics department at Guelph has helped NASA, where one of our physics professors built an important instrument that lives on the Mars rover, which analyzes mineral content of the rocks on Mars, which was a major part of the mission that it was sent to do, which was determining if life on Mars is possible. So we actually have a super secret NASA communication control room on campus, which is cool. Even if your major is not available in co-op, there's plenty of ways to still get hands-on learning through labs, research, and field courses. Some cool field courses you can take could be right here in Ontario, but some of them will actually get you out of the province and over to Nova Scotia, and you can do some oceanography work on the Atlantic, or you could go to the Midwest US for a crop science tour, or even find yourself in Costa Rica studying agriculture and visiting coffee and pineapple plantations. First year labs can have an average of about 30 students, so that's a great ratio to have and probably very similar to what you're used to in high school, which is nice. So this is not a final list by any means, but some very real career outcomes that our students have secured include using your degree to pursue any medical practitioner role. So there's a few listed on screen now. So doctor, optometry, chiropractor, vet, etc. You could also work in nuclear energy, forensic science, environmental analysis, drug development. The list is endless. Here's a snapshot of what some of your typical first year courses can look like, and it'll depend if you're on a biological or a physical science major. We won't go through this in any depth, but I would recommend scanning the QR code if you're interested in seeing the specifics for your major, as there can be some variety from what's on screen now. But first year, again, is really establishing the solid fundamentals across all the sciences, so biology, chemistry, physics, and math, and leaving some room for electives to explore other areas. And now I'd like to introduce our second and final science student representative, Peter. So he's a graduate and proud alumni from our Bachelor of Science program. So Peter, if you'd like to come on screen and just introduce yourself through the points here, and then I'll ask you a few questions about your experience too. But again, what drew you to Guelph and to your program?
Yeah, so my program was the biomedical toxicology program with co-op. I'm actually from Guelph, so the decision to stay was kind of hard, kind of tricky, but the main reason why I decided to stay is because the biomedical toxicology program, I think it's one out of two in all of Ontario. And this program was kind of perfect for me because I was on the fence of whether I wanted to go into academia, research, or into medicine. And I think that this program kind of bridges all three categories very nicely into one package, which would be the program, as well as it offers real work experience in the form of co-ops. The big reason why I chose Guelph also is because they have this new Summerlee Science Complex with a bunch of different types of instruments and facilities that I'd never be able to get access to if I went to different schools, as well as I thought that the teacher and student ratio was very good. I think that because I wanted to do research, the more professors that were in a department in comparison to students gave me more opportunity to work for these professors.
Thanks, Peter. So you were a co-op student, so could you maybe elaborate on an interesting work term that you did during undergrad?
Yeah, it was it'd be my first co-op term. So you can split them up into kind of however or whatever sequence you'd like. I did an 8-month co-op term at a to private toxicity firm called Aquatox, and every single provincial manufacturing plant would have to kind of report like samples and effluent to our company, and we would test them to see whether or not they met the provincial guidelines. And I thought that was awesome because it gave me an opportunity. I had very little lab skills at the time, but it gave me an opportunity to hone my previous lab skills as well as new lab skills. So a bunch of stuff to add to the resume, but it also got me exposed to what it's like working in an actual like company with deadlines, lots of networking opportunities, and a high ceiling to grow. So I thought that experience was very eye-opening, and it led me to a bunch of different co-ops as well.
Wonderful. And as a science student, there can be challenges in managing workload. So you were very involved as a student. You did a lot of extracurriculars and research on top of your full course load. So can you talk us through what that looked like for you? What were you involved in, and how you managed it all?
Yeah, so in my first, or I think it was my second year. I think it was my second year. I joined the Cancer Awareness and Support Association here at the University of Guelph. This is where we did a lot of fundraising events for just people that are going through cancer for people that have loved ones that are going through cancer. And I thought that experience was very fulfilling, as well as right now I am an executive member for the Guelph Chess Club, and that's pretty recent. But I fell in love with chess, and then I just decided to make one of my passions into just a hobby that I could do with others at the university. My biggest advice for joining clubs is join clubs that you know actually find interesting. But go to a bunch of different meetings. You know, at these meetings, you can kind of fall in love with the club and what they're about, as well as meet really interesting, exciting people. For the work balance with my research, it's more so again, like you need to research stuff that you're actually interested in. It's easier in Guelph to get research experience because there's so much to offer here. But you just have to make sure that what you're studying kind of fits with what you want to do later in the future.
Awesome. And finally, can you talk a bit about your ideal career outcome? So what kind of job do you hope to pursue with your degrees?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm pursuing a master's in chemistry, and my focus is on protein biochemistry, as well as oligonucleotide chemistry, which would just be DNA chemistry. And I'm trying to bridge the two worlds. And right now I'm trying to design a drug that's made of the same thing as your DNA, but it actually inhibits proteins that are throughout your body and cause different types of cancer. And with this master's degree, I want to do a PhD degree right after I complete my master's. And then I want to work at a biotech company trying to develop a cheaper alternative to the common cancer drugs that we have today.
Amazing. Thank you so much for sharing that. So if anybody has any questions for Peter or for Karen, remember, just put them in the Q&A for us and we can circle back to them at the end. And now I'll pass this section over to Hillary and invite her to come on screen and take you all through our accredited Bachelor of Engineering program.
Thank you, Purvi. All right, so next is the E of STEM. All right, so just a brief overview of what I will talk about in the engineering section of this presentation. So first of all, why would you pursue a BEng? So I'll touch on a little bit of that. Next, we will summarize each of our 8 majors that we have at UFG. We did have 7, but we've recently added mechatronics. That is new this year. Then we will meet a current student. So you will get to meet Anna again. She will talk a little bit more about her program. And then we'll go a little bit more in depth about our program. I will make a note here. There is a QR code on the screen. Feel free to catch that right now. So that just takes you to a PDF version of our engineering brochure. So anything that I am talking about now or in the next few moments, you can read a little bit more about it. Of course, with the interest of time, we got to fit everything crammed into a short presentation for you. So please feel free to do that now. All right, so why would you study a BEng? So first of all, we've got complete 4 major design projects into interdisciplinary teams. This is what I like to say is unique to Guelph. So when you come into Guelph, you aren't a first-year engineering student. You select your major right away. So it's a direct entry program. So when you apply to Guelph, you will select biomedical engineering or mechanical engineering. But when you start, you are taking a common core across the board and you share 4 major design projects with your peers. So these are in mixed teams starting right away in year 1. Next is probably the reason why most students choose Guelph Engineering is our strong community. So whether you're in year 1 or year 4, you can always sit down in a lab and you'll start a conversation with the person beside you. There's a lot of help surrounding you, a lot of opportunities to join some clubs and groups and social connections, a lot of chances to meet people that are on campus. Networking is very important within engineering, and it's a nice feel within the building. So it's extended from the campus, but a little bit strong within engineering. Next, we are ranked 16 on Maclean's list of top 20 engineering programs, and that is from 2023. We have a lot of opportunities for experiential learning. I have a few slides that cover a lot of these details moving forward that I'll touch on a bit more, but there is a few listed here. And additionally, we have a supportive academic environment. So we have 3 engineering program counselors right in our building if you need any help regarding your courses or your pathway through engineering program. And we also have engineering peer helpers. So if you're maybe not so comfortable talking to a staff member, we have your peers that are in paid positions, that are in upper years, that are there to help you as well. All right, so we'll get into our 8 majors. So I've got 4 on this slide and 4 on the next. You'll notice a theme going across all of these. The theme at Guelph is improve life. So it's improving life in these different areas of engineering. So the first one we have here on the left is biological. So that's for our students that are interested in chemical engineering. This is a sort of chemical major with a mix of biological processes within. So they're improving life by producing safe and abundant food, developing sustainable environmental solutions for agriculture, and designing life-enhancing and life-saving products. There's a little bit of overlap with biomedical, but think a lot smaller with the biological side. Less human health. There's still some human health and biological, but this one's more chemical. This program is unique in that it has 3 specializations, where our other majors you can focus your electives in an area of emphasis. This one will show up on your degree when you graduate. So those 3 specializations are biochemical engineering, food processing, and environmental sustainability. So next in blue here, we have biomedical engineering. So these ones are concerned with human health. I will say that you can go into veterinary medicine after biomedical engineering as well. We have had animals in our motion capture lab as well, so that's really cool. So they're applying engineering principles, innovative technologies, and designing solutions to improve human health. The next 2 majors are computer-themed majors. The one on the left there, the brown major, they improve life through advancing computer tech. So to summarize it, they're building the computing machines. They're making them work better, faster. They're making them smaller and more discrete. So they're working on the computers themselves, how they work. Beside that, systems and computing in red, they don't care so much how the computer was built, but they want it to complete what they need the system to do. So they're using knowledge from all of our other majors to create a system. So if you're thinking of, as an example, an ambulance has a whole bunch of different working parts. It's got the sirens, the lights, the sounds. A systems engineer would figure out how to get all of those systems working together as one. So on to our next 4. So mechanical is our most popular major. It is also the most widely recognized major across all industries. So they have very hands-on. It's not just automotive. It is incorporated into a lot of different industries, but they are applying innovative design concepts and engineering principles to the world around us to improve the quality of life. So I kept that one very general because it is a pretty general engineering major to pursue. Next is mechatronics. So this is our brand new major. So this one combines a few of our majors to create this new one. It is very programming, coding heavy, as well as our computer and systems engineering, but it combines the mechanical on the left here to electrical and computer engineering with a bit of AI to design these cutting edge smart automation and robotic systems that improve life in general. Again, this one, similar to biological engineering, also has specializations. So students come in and they select one of the 2 listed here. So you've got robotics, control AI, or manufacturing and automation. The last 2 are for our students that are all about environmental advocacy and sustainability. So the one on the left, the green environmental, they advocate for local and global change by working to improve life on our planet. It is very general. It includes a little bit of water. There's a lot of overlap with these majors, but the one on the right there, water resources, they design solutions around preserving and protecting our planet's water resources. So it's very water focused. Both of these majors are, I'll say they're unique in a way that they are very civil based, but they're niche areas of civil engineering. So those that are on the call today that are interested in civil, you might have an interest in one of these two majors as well. All right, so I will bring Anna on. She's the biological engineering student that we have here today to give a little bit more detail on why she chose Guelph, more about specifically why she chose biological engineering out of all of our majors, and what she hopes to do when she graduates, and anything else she wants to share with you.
Thank you, Hillary. So my name is Anna, and I come originally from Ukraine, and I lived in Winnipeg, but now my hometown is Kingston. And one of the reasons I chose biological engineering at the University of Guelph is when I was in high school, I'm sure as all of you are going through it, it was very hard to choose a degree that you wanted to do because you don't really know what you want to do. I was specifically interested in like food systems and food science, but I wanted to incorporate technology into it. And so I thought engineering was the perfect option for me. And Guelph has biological engineering, which is a very niche degree. Not many universities in Canada have biological engineering. And so that's kind of the main reason I even started looking at Guelph, because that really interested me. And then, as Hillary mentioned earlier, the 3 emphasis programs in biological engineering, which include biochemical engineering, environmental sustainability, and food processing, those were the perfect kind of options for me to tailor my degree to what I wanted to do in the future. And you get that option to do in 3rd year, so you have some time, 2 years, to figure out what exactly you want to actually do in biological engineering. And I found that in this degree, I get to incorporate I still learn very basic mechanical, computer science. I still learn coding and build kind of mechanical components while also learning biochemical processes, which are incorporated in biological engineering. And I actually didn't even tour Guelph, I think, before accepting, because I was very sold on the program. Another reason, the other main reason I chose Guelph is because I was one of the President's Scholarship recipients for that year. That is the biggest scholarship in Guelph, and it's worth $42,500. So I would really recommend, for anyone who's considering going to Guelph, I would really recommend applying for scholarships. Guelph is very considerate, and it's very common to get scholarships. I have a lot of friends who have come here on scholarships, and I think it's a very good opportunity to try and help you pay through university.
Great, thank you, Anna. I'm going to touch on that a little bit as well, or expand on the scholarship piece. Unique to engineering as well, we have $1,000 scholarships per each major for women in engineering as well. So we are really trying to promote women in STEM, especially in the engineering field, which traditionally has been pretty male dominated. So that is another thing. If you're one of the female identifying people on the call, just remember that as well to apply for the Women in Engineering Scholarship. All right, so next is our core foundation. So this touches a little bit more on that earlier when I mentioned that it's direct entry, that we don't have year 1 engineering. So all students come in their major, but they do share all the courses on the left-hand side here. So we do have an interdisciplinary foundation. A lot of these courses are taken over your first year, and then you differentiate immediately right away by 2 courses on the right-hand side. So if you remember the colors from before, I can sort of remind you if you need some reminding. The top 2 there is biological, biomedical, enviro, and water. And then the second down is our 2 computer majors, computer and systems. And then we've got mechanical, the orange, and our new mechatronics at the bottom is the purple. So the major differentiator here is the programming. So the computer and systems and our new mechatronics all take that, the programming for engineers. So it's an advanced programming course. So if you are pursuing a switch, because I often get that question, if I start as one major since it's direct entry, can I switch to another major? The answer is yes. It is a bit of a process, but it is hard to switch from one of the other majors into a computer-based major versus the other way around, because you will need to retake that programming course. So the other notes here are at the bottom. So we've got the chemistry. We have two different versions of chemistry now since mechatronics entered our engineering program. So we've got some of our students, we call them, or majors, we call them the wet majors. So the 2 or 4 at the top, sorry, the biological, biomedical, enviro, and water. They will take a different Chem 1040 and they'll take another year. They'll take the second chemistry, where the rest of the students will just take Chem 1140 as they were taking they're not in the lab, it's a hypothetical lab. So it's an online lab. All right, so next we're going to get into design. I'm usually in front of the design showcase on a tour explaining all of our major design components of the program. It's neat to see the different projects that have come out of Guelph. First year design, students do something called Teddy Bear Wheelchair. We call it the Mixed Major Design Challenge, but we have since brought accessibility back into the project. So now we're calling it Teddy Bear Wheelchair again. So what it is students in about 4 or 5 people per team, and these are mixed majors, like I said, across all of the majors. They're given a Meccano set and they need to build a car. With an Arduino, they program the car to perform based on the constraints given that year. The teddy bear needs to stay in the car at all times. And then there's a projectile component as well, which makes it a little bit fun with either a hockey net or a dartboard of sorts. Second year design is Prototype Design and Build Challenge, also known as the Kinder Egg Toy Design. So those on the call that know what a Kinder Egg is, I know there's a lot of Canadians that know, but for those that don't, it's a toy in a small container and you dump the container out, the toy scatters out in pieces. You have to follow the instructions, put it together. And then I'm going to say the larger Kinder Egg toys often have a motion component to it. So that is this project. It has to use stored energy to either fly, drive, or shoot a projectile. There's a few other components to this project. A commercial, a social media page. You are essentially a toy company selling your toy. So the first 2 years you've been given the problem. Year 3, so in third year design, you have a creative solution project. For this project, you need to fully define your problem your own. So it's problem definition with a designed solution. And this is a presentation and a report. Fourth year design, it comes all together. It's similar to third year design, but you have a giant 3x4 foot poster that you need to design and print. And you have a prototype of your project and you present these ones at a trade show style event called Design Day. So we bring in about 90 to 100 industry judges from various industries, and they come in and they will watch you present your project, and then you will get graded about 3 times on that. At the bottom half of this slide, these are major specific design courses. So you don't just have the 4 design courses through the engineering program, you will have additional design courses specific to your major or shared across 2 or 3 majors. So those are listed below. I'm going to ask Anna if she has done any of the biological engineering design. I don't know if she has yet.
I have not done any biological engineering design. I think that course, when I actually get to do hands-on biological design, that comes in 3rd or 4th year, depending on the co-op stream. And but I did some biological work in research last summer. That's where I got my first ever hands-on experience in biological engineering. It's not part of the course, but it's a research opportunity that students can apply to.
And if you had to pick, which one of the major design courses have you completed, or which one are you looking forward to?
I've completed the first design course, the Teddy Bear Wheelchair. And I'm currently in my second design course. So I'm actually doing the animation and the Kinder toy right now. I would say I'm looking forward to the most for the 4th year project, just because it's very it's putting everything together. So I'm excited to see how it all comes together and getting to present everything. But I'm really enjoying the design course right now that I'm taking, just because it's just fun. It's like a game. We get to it's a lot of work for sure, but you get to actually use engineering software online to design like 3D parts and then put like make an assembly, put it together, make an animation, and you can choose what design you want to make. And we're making an elephant, so actually it's the deadline is this Friday, so every single day right now. Just before this, I was working in the computer lab and assembling the whole piece, like all the pieces, and it's fun. It's a lot of work, but if you enjoy it, that's all that matters.
That's awesome. I will say that the second year design is my favorite one. I get to see them 3D printing in the labs when they're starting to put the pieces together, and then seeing the top 5 or 6 present at design day is really neat as well. So that's awesome. All right, I think this might be our last slide for engineering. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks so much. That was great engineering information. So if anybody has any questions for Hillary or Anna or anything regarding engineering, please put that in the Q&A and we'll review that at the end. And now we'll move on to the Bachelor of Computing degree and chat about what makes it unique. So the title of this degree is somewhat unique to Guelph, as there's very few degrees in Canada called computing. So at other schools, you can study computing, but it might fall under an arts degree or applied science or engineering or something else. So we're lucky to have it both as an engineering degree. You can study computing through the BEng degree, but also through this BComp degree. And the main draw for this program, in contrast to the engineering one, is that there is no science needed to enter this program, and there is no science built into curriculum unless you choose to add it in as an elective. So it's a huge advantage for those students who want to avoid the traditional sciences. There are 2 majors in this degree, so you would have to select between either computer science or software engineering, and I'll get to the differences between the 2 on the next slide. But given that the science part is not mandatory in this degree, our software engineering major is not considered an accredited engineering major in case anyone was interested in that professional engineering designation. A brand new curriculum change starting this fall will be that students must select one of the 4 areas of emphasis listed on screen. So you would take 8 courses in your chosen area, and you'll see it's artificial intelligence or data science or cybersecurity or human-computer interaction. And then it will show up on your transcript after completion. You don't need to declare this now. It's not part of your application, but usually by the end of first year, you can start thinking about which of those 4 themes might align with your goals and interests the most. The location of our school works in your favor too. All the major tech and commerce companies or big Canadian banks, government offices, large healthcare facilities, they all have central offices or headquarters within a 1-hour radius in what we call North Silicon Valley. So that kind of corridor between Toronto and Waterloo, in which Guelph is right in the middle. So for summer jobs, co-op placements, internships, and graduation opportunities, a lot of them are within really close proximity. So that's a big advantage to our students and something that local employers really enjoy too. We'll talk about some companies our graduates and co-op students have worked at later. So you'll see the range of industries that you can apply your computing skills to. And at Guelph, we recognize that some fields like computing and STEM sometimes in general have historically been more masculine, and we want to change that narrative and make an inclusive environment for women and non-binary people to feel comfortable to join and excel in their chosen field. So the computing department does have clubs like GWIX or Guelph Women in Computer Science to create those female communities, and they host female industry speakers and have workshops to support you as needed. So when differentiating between the 2 majors, and remember they're both available in co-op as well, computer science is your more traditional computing degree. There's a few sample courses listed there. There are more math courses that are required when compared to software engineering, but in your upper years, there's fewer required courses with computer science, which means there's more freedom to take the electives that really interest you, so you can tailor your degree to match your interests. In software engineering, there's fewer math courses that you're required to take, and still some of the traditional computer science aspects, but more of a focus on software design and development. Remember, if your area of emphasis that you select is data science, then just know you will be taking a few extra math courses as part of those requirements, though. Every year you take a course called software design, and it could be looking at legacy systems or best practices for code development. And in software engineering, there is a real focus on group work and collaboration, and you're taught project management methodologies as well within your teams. And now I'd like to introduce you to our computing student, Sarah. So if you'd like to join me on screen now and just let us know a bit about where you're from and what you're studying and what drew you to pursue computing at Guelph.
Hi, everyone. So again, my name is Sarah, and I'm in my fifth year here at the University of Guelph. My major is software engineering, and I also have a minor in project management. I was actually born in Jordan and was raised there for my younger years, and then I moved here to Mississauga for the past few years. Like I mentioned earlier, Mississauga is not too far away from Guelph, so I do commute back and forth, which I can touch on later if anyone has any questions. I guess my G reason why would be when I was in grade 12, which a lot of you are probably in that position right now, that was actually the year that COVID hit. So that was 2020. And pretty much everything went into shutdown mode. And I was going through and scrambling, like, which university am I going to go to? How am I going to see how universities are? Because you go there and they're all empty, right? All the universities were shut down. However, my brother was an alumni. So he graduated the year before I entered grade 12, and he was telling me all about Guelph. And he was like, trust me, not only is the food the number one food, which Purvi has spoke on earlier, but it's a beautiful campus that gives you a sense of community. And that's both just the campus itself, but also the people there. You genuinely feel like you'll find your people and that you'll kind of always feel like you belong. So I never really felt like I was like, stood out like a sore thumb in any terrible way. I never really felt like, oh, I don't belong here. From the get-go, that was kind of like, this is what's really important to me, as I want to be able to feel supported by my community, by my peers, by my professors. And honestly, when going through all the options, I just really felt like the University of Guelph stuck out to me the most under those categories. So I went ahead and I took the risk. I listened to my older brother's advice, and I never looked back since. I've been here for the past 5 years. I've participated in a lot of these types of events because I truly believe that coming from a student telling you that this is the type of campus that you're going to get both your academic support on, but also build long and lasting friendships and being able to network and also being able to communicate one-on-one with your professors, you'll never really feel like a number here is what I'll say. You'll always kind of feel like you have somewhere further. So that would be my G reason why, as to why I chose to study here and continue to study here.
I always love hearing that story. That's great. Thanks so much for sharing. And Sarah, as a computing co-op student, that's a big part of why students want to study that here. And as a senior student, you've done several work terms. So can you share one of your experiences and what you learned at a company that you worked at?
Yeah, so I worked at 3 different companies throughout all my 5 terms. I just wrapped up my last one, but by far one of my more favorite ones would be one at a small tech startup called Tulip Retail. And just a quick overview, Tulip Retail does the POS systems for a lot of more luxury brands. And the reason why I specifically choose this one to talk about is because this was my first software engineering type role. And I was thrown right in there, and I was believe it or not, literally participating in conversations with companies like Coach, Dolce & Gabbana, all of these really, really big names. And I remember being sent a meeting invite to talk to the business of Dolce & Gabbana to develop our technical requirements so we can build the POS system out for them. And I was literally sitting in that call and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is crazy. Like I'm actually involving myself. My want to participate is there and I'm being heard. And I built out the POS system that I actually see in stores today. So when you go into Dolce & Gabbana and they take out their little iPad and they pull out the POS system for their retails, I actually contributed to the software there. So I always think that's such a cool piece to know that the co-op experiences at Guelph really let you go in there and just dive full deeply into what it is you want to study, what you want to learn, and what you want to pursue, and you'll see meaningful impacts that you have on your work. So that's something that I always can carry at the back of my mind. I'll pass the store on and be like, hey, I did their POS system there. So it's just really nice to see that your work is being valued here.
For sure. That sounds so interesting. And as a computing student, what are some programming languages you learn? And did you need any prior coding or programming experience when you started?
So you need absolutely zero programming experience when you start going into your first year. The professors are all under the assumption, whether it's true or not, that no one knows anything about code, and they'll start you off from scratch. So I had previous ones only because I took a grade 11 and grade 12 comp sci course. But even then, going into my first year, a lot of it was just review. And I had a few peers and a few friends who've never touched code before, and they were able to pick it up really quickly because of that underlying assumption that all the professors have. So it's a really, really fair playing field. In your earlier years in your studies, you'll focus a lot on C. So that's the programming language. And then on those software design courses that Purvi touched on for the software engineering students, you'll start picking up Python in those courses and kind of differ away from that mainstream. And then as you go into your middle and final years, you'll start learning more about Java, and then you'll learn more back-end programming language as well. You'll pick up SQL for databases. So the main programming language I would say is C. And then as you go and evolve throughout your degree, it becomes more flexible, especially with your projects. So my senior course right now is a capstone project, and the language that you complete this project in is completely up to you. So we'll start off with C, like I mentioned, then work your way through Python, and then go through Java oriented. So it's flexible throughout.
Good to know. You get exposure to a couple different languages there. You touched on, and I touched on, that software engineering students do have to take an annual course on software design. So can you share an example of a design project, or what was the undertaking like in one of those courses?
Yeah, I'll speak on my second design course. So like I mentioned earlier, I was admitted to the University of Guelph, during COVID years. So a lot of the COVID data was really, really fleshed out, and there was a lot of it going on at that time. And so during this course, we actually had the opportunity to work with our group members. So we were in groups of about 4 or 5, and pretty much have an open-ended project using the CSV files. So those are just data files from the Ontario government website to answer any type of inquiry that we'd like. So the question that my group chose was to see if there was a correlation between school closures and COVID-19 numbers throughout different districts. So we were able to pull in the data from these CSV files from the government site. And this was all done in Python, by the way we approached it. And then we were able to analyze the data regarding school closures versus the data of case counts for those same time periods, compare them, and then output them in graph formats and visuals. So that one was really cool because I've never really took the time to A, work with a group in a software setting, but also B, seeing how we can use tech and software to answer these real world applicable questions. I know a lot of us as students were a little frustrated with the school closure. Some of us may have liked it, some of us may have said not, but it was really cool to actually see, hey, schools closing down actually reduce our COVID numbers in these areas. So it was really cool to see a practical example, and also just seeing it from scratch that you built.
Definitely. Thanks so much for sharing that, Sarah. And I'll move on now, but again, if anyone has any student questions for Sarah, please put those in the chat. So here's a quick look at first year courses that you can take in your computing degree. So if anybody's interested in what that looks like, I'll leave that up for a few seconds. Feel free to screenshot that or have a look. But the top half is if you're interested in computer science, and the bottom half of the slide is if you're interested in software engineering. And where it says AOE, that would be your area of emphasis from those 4 themes that we showed a little earlier. Okay, and certainly not an exhaustive list of careers, but you will recognize some of the logos of the bigger companies that our students have worked at, right? Like Apple, Microsoft, Tesla. But remember, there's tons of opportunities more realistically at small and mid-sized companies, perhaps in non-tech related fields, that could really open up your skill set when you work at, say, an insurance firm or a smaller cybersecurity company, or in the retail space as well. Something like D2L stands for Desire to Learn. They provide software and support to academic institutions, and we use their products here at the University of Guelph. So they're a really good example of where students have been able to successfully land jobs because they've already used their products. Okay, and with that, we'll move on to the last subject area, which is mathematics. So we've had our mathematical science major as part of the Bachelor of Science degree for many years. We now have a specific standalone Bachelor of Mathematics degree. That's been a very welcome change and has created a lot of interest and applications into this program, and I will share why. Okay, so this program is really unique because it gives students a chance to study math, but also choose what other types of courses you would want as part of your degree. Many students love math, but don't enjoy the sciences. So this degree was created so that, similar to computing, students can use their electives to complement math with other subject areas and not be required to have high school science courses for admission. You have the option to further take your mathematical science major and choose an area of emphasis if you wanted in either mathematics or statistics. After your 4 years, you have a set of valuable skills like quantitative analysis, modeling, critical thinking, and problem solving, and those can be applied to absolutely every field. If you're not sure what modeling is, mathematical modeling, it's a central technique that we use with many services that we all, use in our daily lives, like weather forecasting, disease spread and prediction, or consumer behavior analysis, just to name a few. In our library on campus, we have an area called the Science Commons, in which that provides dedicated academic support to students that are in math, chemistry, and physics subjects. So you can visit there and then have teaching assistants in those departments help you understand any challenging concepts you may have encountered. Our friendly math and stats professors are approachable and really lean into creating a community for their students that offers a personable approach to education. And that's something that I've always valued about Guelph, is how much peer helping there is and student support services that are on campus to help you transition to a new learning style. Some of the roles that our mathematical science graduates have succeeded in are shared on screen. So we've had our grads work at medical tech and pharma companies like Fortrea in the US, PricewaterhouseCoopers firm in data management and analytics, or they can work at global universities around the world in healthcare departments or pursue teaching, among other options. A very memorable grad that I had heard of was Emily, who worked for Ion Geophysical in Scotland, and she helped develop and test a software that was used on earthquake detection vessels. So she would be able to tell the crew where to position the ship to detect the behavior of the currents in the water as they relate to earthquake activity. That takes enormous detail and precision, and I thought it was a really interesting application of her mathematical science degree. And this is what most first-year students experience as part of their recommended sequence of studies, so I'll also leave that up for a second for you. Hey, and Vinay, if you'd like to come on screen now, you're a current math student, and just chat us through, how did you hear about math at Guelph and what led you to pursue the study of it?
Yeah, thank you so much. As Purvi mentioned, my name is Vinay. I actually used to be a former employee of the University of Guelph, where I had a past career in biological and chemical lab testing. And so I've been in Guelph for quite some time now, since I'd say 2019, 2018. And during my time, I realized I started to like data and statistics more. And so for me, it was a natural transition to go back to school to sort of pursue a mathematical science degree. And that was my reason why I picked Guelph, because I was here. I already worked here for a couple of years. I knew what the culture is here like. The food here is amazing, if no one has mentioned it yet. And yeah, so I love the statistics of things, and I love how we interact with so much data all around. And the thing that excites me about my degree and my future is that I get to tell stories or discover stories and insights from the data around us. Yeah.
Awesome. Now, our Bachelor of Mathematics program is not available in co-op, but there's still plenty of ways to get summer jobs and build up your professional network. Can you let us know some of your internships and where you completed them?
Yeah, totally. So it is true. The BMath program as it stands does not have a co-op program, but that does not limit you from applying for internships by any means. There are a lot of resources on campus, like the Math Stat Club and the department, the professors, the academic services that help you sort of get those internships. Some of the cool ones that I've had are research internships, working with a few different professors, where I built a software for detecting epidemics within Guelph. Another cool internship that I had done was I worked for a gaming company called Electronic Arts, where I got to work with sort of playtesting studies. I worked on FIFA, Apex Legends, Sims, and college football. So those are some of the things so those are some of the companies that I've worked for. I've also worked as a consultant as a freelance data analyst, where I worked for smaller companies, where I would sort of help out with their data and such. Yeah, so that's about it.
Awesome. And as an upper year student, you're also a key part of student leadership in the math and stats department, because you're the math and stats student club president. So what is being part of that club like, and how might future students get involved?
Oh yeah, totally. It's the Math and Stats Club, the undergraduate Math and Stats Club is a I is a very cool initiative driven by the department. So it's I guess its leadership is technically the department, but the students sort of run it, including myself and my teammates. Um, I think it's very cool because it gives an opportunities for the students in the program to sort of interact with other students. But more than that, we run so many different workshops and so many different academic events, but not just limited to academic events. We also have like these fun, cool ones and so forth. For example, day after tomorrow, we're going out to University of Waterloo to take some of the students from Guelph, and we're presenting some of the research work that we've done at the University of Waterloo. So that's something we've done. That's something we're doing this year. But similarly, we run these large scale trivia events and these fun game shows that are math and stats related as well.
Perfect. Thanks so much for sharing your perspectives, Vinay. So I'll circle back to you shortly at the end. So if anyone has any questions about math or the student experience as a math student for Vinay, please enter those in now.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, we've completed the academic part of the presentation. So we'll just spend the last few minutes talking about your next steps as an applicant and reviewing any questions that are that we can answer as a group from our current students. So here are some dates that might be useful to know if you're applying this year. For all applicants, remember that June 2nd is the last date to accept your admission offer. Please use the QR code on the bottom left to see a complete list of dates and deadlines to help you with your planning. In case you didn't know, because we do have a few out-of-province applicants and international students on this call, those two groups, so out-of-province and international students, you are guaranteed residence if you submit your residence application and deposit by June 2nd. And we would love to invite all of you to visit us on campus on Sunday, March 23rd, where we have a university-wide open house. You can attend academic program sessions, get a campus and residence tour, check out labs, lecture halls, and meet other current students and faculty. We have another set of open houses happening in May. Those are exclusively for students that have an admission offer. So similar format, but information will be pretty targeted to sort of simulate what you can expect in first year. And lastly, if you enjoy connecting with current students in your program or from your hometown, we do have some ambassadors on our UniBuddy platform. So please make a free account, search the University of Guelph, and then find some students to text your questions to about anything to do with living and learning at Guelph, and they will respond within 24 hours. Okay, so I'll just briefly kind of look through the Q&A here and see if there are some questions that we can answer live for you. So just give me a minute here. Okay, so Sarah, can I call you on screen? Some interest in the process of selecting a minor. So I know you're a computing student minoring in project management. When did you know you wanted to add that in, and what was that process like?
Yeah, for sure. So going into my degree in my first year, I knew I wanted to pair my major with some sort of minor just to kind of give me a little bit of an edge, I guess you would say, compared to my peers when it comes to job applying and all that stuff. But I also knew that although my heart does lie in software and programming, I love organizing things. And I love kind of taking a really, really messy problem and fixing it and making it kind of coming a solution out of it. So I went through online, and hopefully someone can maybe share a link if that's possible. There's a list of all the minors that we offer at the University of Guelph. And with those lists, you're able to click any that you'd like. And so I went through the entire one. I said, hey, project management. I feel like that would complement my software engineering degree very well, because we do have to work with groups a lot of the time. There's a lot of cross collaboration with teams in the real world. So it was just one that kind of like clicked a lot of and checked a lot of boxes for me. So once you click on that on the website, you're then redirected to a list of all the courses that you could possibly take within your minor in order for it to be declared as an official minor. And there's some flexibility within that. So I believe you need 10 credits for it to be your minor. Purvi, please correct me if I'm wrong on that. But within 10 credits, that's about like a decent chunk of courses. And then within that, I was able to kind of go through the list that they provided. And I was like, hey, this sounds like it would be really interesting to take. Oh, this course sounds really like applicable to what I want to do with my life. So it was kind of just a matter of going through those minors, kind of selecting the few that I felt were of interest to me personally and that would pair really well with my major. And then after that, kind of going through the courses that they have in order for it to be declared as an official minor and seeing if they're actually of interest to me. So it's super easy to say, oh, I want a minor in mathematics, for example, or I want a minor in project management. But what does that actually entail? What courses are you going to deep dive into in your 4 or 5 years here? So the university does a really good job online, kind of giving you what those courses are going to look like and offering you some flexibility between a couple of them. So I knew right from the get-go that I wanted to do a minor. It was just the process of actually selecting one and committing to it, which was very, very, very easy to do because of the wealth of knowledge that's just readily available for you on the university site.
For sure. Thank you. So yes, for anybody who's curious about a minor, it's not something that you have to even declare, but if you were interested in doing one or you discover an area of interest while you're here, you start by going to your program counselor once you're enrolled here and you've taken some classes, and then they can facilitate the formal paperwork part by getting that added in. Sarah, one more question for you. For students that are struggling between computer science and software engineering, do you have any insight or advice beyond what we sort of mentioned? You know, we said computer science is a little more math heavy, but is there any other insight you can kind of help offer some clarity to some students who are still, ideating between the two?
For sure. So this obviously differs from individual to individual, but what I've seen for the past 5 years is, in my opinion, if you're someone who likes to work with groups, if you like that collaborative part of coding, if you like kind of looking at more of a high level approach to a solution, software engineering is probably where you want to be. And that's just because you're able to go through those software design courses that Purvi and I mentioned earlier, which are all group collaborative courses within the software development path and stream. Like she mentioned, it's less math heavy. So again, there's just a lot of emphasis on that group collaboration. What are the different roles when you're collaborating with a software team? So there's an agile coach, there's a product coach, there's a scrum master. So all of these different roles, you're kind of digging and diving further into them within the software engineering stream. Whereas maybe if you're not really a big fan of going into that collaboration, you prefer to work by yourself, maybe you want to pick up research post-secondary, things that you would prefer to go lower level on, so more theory-based, more math-based, more individual work, and so on. I always say go to the computer science route. You're not obligated to take those 5 design courses, so you're not collaborating a lot so with your peers. But do not get me wrong, the computer science individuals do still have those group projects as any degree would. It's just not to the extent and depth that those software engineering kids have.
Perfect. Thanks so much for that. Okay, and another question was if this webinar will be recorded. It is being recorded, and if you've signed up for it and registered, then the link will be shared with you so you can revisit some of this information afterwards. How about Peter? Can I call you on now? There seems to be some interest from our audience about participating in research. So I know that you had a chance to do that here. So how does one get involved, and can everybody do it, or is there an application process for that?
Yeah. So research is it can be pretty difficult to crack into sometimes, but I think once you get your first position, the opportunities keep coming. The way I cracked into research was that I volunteered at a professor's laboratory where I just did the groundwork, did the dishes, made sure that other grad students as well as other undergrads that were conducting research had everything they needed. And this was I just shot out a bunch of emails to different profs I was pretty interested in working with. And after I did my volunteering, I did a co-op where I was able to hone some research techniques. And then this experience kind of put a lot on my resume. And then I was able to apply for something called a URA or a USRA, which are summer research positions that Guelph offers for most of its departments and labs. And then a professor chose me, gave me an opportunity to work in a lab. And then after that research opportunity, I was able to get into the lab that I currently work for doing my master's degree. So it's really all about making the first move. A professor will never, well, it's very rare, but it's very rare for them to come out and give you the opportunity. So research is really what you invest in is what you get back. So you need to just be knocking on everyone's door. Yeah.
One more question for you, Peter. I guess somebody's wondering, was there a lot of time between your undergrad and master's in terms of how did you find that transition, or what was it like post graduation after undergrad?
Yeah, so when I was graduating, I was pretty torn on whether I want to take that gap year, kind of maybe work full time, see what that's like. Um, but I realized that for what I wanted to pursue, I needed to do post-grad education. So I just leaped right into it. I was looking at the job market for what I was trained for, and right now it's protein biochemistry. And if you're in any type of pharmaceutical field right now, it's booming. So this program definitely got me prepared for the workforce, but for what I wanted to do, I knew I needed to further educate myself. So I went right into my master's degree, and I couldn't be really happier with what I chose to do. It's been awesome. I've been, in the lab all the time. I really enjoy it, and I'm with a great group of lab mates, I guess, that I can always depend on.
Awesome, thanks. Let's do one more question, and just in the spirit of time, since we're going over,
Yeah.
we're going to wrap up right after that. If you're
Mhm.
still expecting, if you've got a question in the Q&A and you're still expecting an answer, just don't drop off the call. Even though we wrap up, the staff members on the call will take a moment to just type out an answer to you if we weren't able to get to it live. But if we did one more question, Karen, can I bring you on screen? And I'll ask you two questions. One would be non-academic. So what was living in residence like?
Yeah, so I lived in South residence in Prairie Hall. And so I'm a pretty introverted person. And so I had applied to be in all single rooms, but I was put into a triple room, which initially wasn't my favorite thing in the world. It ended up working out very well. My two roommates have become two of my closest friends. I hang out with them all the time now, and I'm in third year, so 2 years later. And then residence itself, I really enjoyed. Being on campus was really convenient, having food available, laundry very close, little things like that that made the transition from living at home to coming to school a lot easier. And I definitely enjoyed living in residence for sure.
Thank you. And then if I can just ask you one question about your first year. So when you're taking a variety of courses, somebody's asking like physics and math and chemistry. What is it like if in first year university doing those courses? Were they challenging? Were they pretty fundamental? Was it easy to jump from the high school level into first year? Do you recall?
Um, Definitely, it lays out a fundamental concepts for each, like biology, physics, chemistry, math, and it really depends on where you're coming from high school. So I had friends who absolutely breezed through chemistry and found it complete review from high school, and I had friends who came from high school and hadn't covered the topics that we were talking about yet. But the good thing was that they did cover all of those topics and let you kind of, even if you hadn't covered them in high school, you had a good opportunity to learn them in first year. It is a big jump in the sense of content and the speed of which you receive content. It's a lot faster paced. Um, and so it can be a bit of a jump. You have to kind of really get on time management, get on your Google Calendars and sort out what your study time is, when assignments are due, and things like that, because it is pretty easy to fall behind. But if you stay on top of it and have a group of friends that you're able to study with, discuss problems with, it isn't too difficult, and it's definitely possible.
Awesome. Thanks so much for that. So just again, in the spirit of time, we'll just wrap up and just introduce you to some ways you can still stay in touch with us in case you have questions that occur to you after this information session. So please stay in touch with us at sepsinfo@uoguelph.ca. And again, if you've got any unanswered questions in the chat that we couldn't answer live, we will stick around to type out an answer to you, so don't log off just yet. But for everybody else, we hope you all found this STEM session really helpful, and maybe it introduced you to something that you didn't know before. So please stay in touch with us through any of the means on screen. And we hope you can join us for that open house on Sunday, March 23rd, to everybody who's able to come to the University of Guelph to see everything that we've talked about come to life. So with that, the webinar is done. We'll be turning our cameras off, just sticking around to answer some questions still in the Q&A. But thank you all so much for joining us. We hope you're just as excited as us to have you attend the University of Guelph in September. Good luck to everybody who's applied, and congrats to those of you with an offer, and we'll say bye for now.